long story short, in order for you folks to get the city in anywhere near decent shape at all, you got to start thinking about adding and start thinking about cutting. Now, how you're going to do it is up to you. If you can't do it, you're just going to get turned down, and turned down.
You know what, sir? I've never wanted to be the cheapest anything in my life, but I've always wanted to be the best. And you know what?
If business and homeowners and families run their business and homeowners and families like you run this city, they'd be all be in the poorhouse. That's true.
About that $72,000 for the net position, I was on the net in Barrie, and I had links to the Barrie Partnership Economic Restructuring Committee, the Barrie Partnership Design Committee, Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation, Central Vermont Regional Planning, Central Vermont Economic Action Plan, the Planning and Development Committee for the Central Vermont Chamber, the Barrie Area Development Corporation. There's been some successes in Barrie. There's Emsley's and such at the old firehouse, Lake Lace succeeding. You mentioned the vacant storefronts, but we got to go, throwing another deck chair on this at $72,000. Probability, I'm sorry, isn't that they're going to come in and push the magic button and be the solution. At this time, it's not prudent to pay 50 cents for another position in this area. Every time you turn on the TV, there's indicators that things are bad. To take money out and pay at this time is not prudent. So I concur with this gentleman that pull in, regroup, and think about how you're spending the money, because paying for anything that comes down the pike is not the correct approach at this time.
I disagree.
And you're going to probably keep it, and so it was said. And as you've mentioned in the past, time will tell. Mm-hmm. So it's not a vindictive thing, but hopefully,
no, and I don't take it that way.
Hopefully it'll work. We're all in it for the same thing.
I mean, part of what this organization does is, what we've talked about, the $72,000, the 48 from Barrie Town, is actually consolidates the Barrie Partnership and Barrie Area Development. That's the purpose of it, because, as you read all of those organizations off, so it's not lost on me that we have a lot of organizations that sometimes do the same thing. What they tend to have in common a lot is they all try to use part-time people, they all try to use volunteers, and what they end up getting is they end up getting volunteer and part-time results. Instead of putting an honest effort at it and saying, okay, you've got 3 or 4 organizations out there that are scattered in their approach, all being somewhat successful, but not being quite as successful as we would like to be. Why don't we pull back? Why don't we regroup? Why don't we consolidate these 4 organizations? But the simple fact of the matter is, like I said, if you start doing things primarily with volunteers and with part-time people, you're going to get part-time results. And I can show you in other communities where they have organizations like the one I'm proposing, and they've been tremendously successful.
This is the time to draw from the well. Because
this is exactly the time to draw from the well, because when times get tough, economic development is a war. And this is not the time to be pulling back and letting every other community in the state run roughshod over us.
That's another issue. How about, as you pointed out, thinking outside the box? I would like somebody in the future from your council, you people, to think about very seriously putting that up for auction again, or for the first time.
Sir, all you have to do is get 350 signatures on a petition, and if the voters say it's their weather vane.
Now that would be an article?
That would be an article.
Why can't it be a motion from the board?
Because the council talked about it, council deliberated it, and it wasn't exactly this council. There was somewhat of a different configuration.
Okay.
Unless someone from this council would like to make a motion.
Yeah, if we all subscribe to Charter and Barrie and Internet, both those services just went up. I'm going to have to cancel. Those are two things I enjoy. People enjoy historic memorabilia. I've sold mine on eBay to meet my needs. I'm wondering why Barrie is hoarding. I think you mentioned at one time it was valued at $500,000?
No, it's valued at over $1 million.
Oh, well, just for illustrative purposes, I believe $500,000 annually would bring in $25,000 a year. That money could be earmarked for something. I love history, but I've actually had to let it go of myself, and I think it isn't, okay, I'm not vehement to the point where I'll go out and pound pavement to get 200 signatures, but maybe the constituents in your would voice their concerns to you if they're in agreement, and if not, then it stays.
Yes, sir.
I can address that. Well, and one of the talks that was held before, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the advantage to selling the weather vane would be very short-lived. In other words, fine, we could sell it, get, use your figure, 500,000. That helps us out this year. Next year, we're coming back to you to try and regenerate the same 500,000.
I used 25,000 on 500,000. That would pay for half the roof of the BOR.
But we've got the final payment right now, so we need to plan on ahead. The 55 that's being,
The issue isn't the BOR. It's what can you do with $25,000 a year after year after year as income revenue.
Not a lot, not enough to where it's going to make any difference. 25,000 is not even a penny off the tax rate.
Okay. I threw that out there.
Right, but honestly, if you feel, and it's like I said to the Southern young lady, it's your city too. And if you feel strongly about that?
Well, a penny off the tax rate, when you get down, the last sheet here talked about if I had a $200,000 piece of property, and if everything passed, it would cost me $25 a month. Well, $25 a month plus 75, I just lost my cable and my internet. So it does matter. So, point being that I would hope that there might be more activity on that. The Aldrich Library on page 17, this wasn't an article. It was in the budget $100,000. I think that should have been a line item. When they added the addition onto the library, they have to heat that. I thought it was not prudent. It was done. Either fundraising did it or there was contributions, I can't remember. But I think that number needs to be tweaked. Or fundraising 100%. The city market in the city hall, I heard last week, you somewhat made a comment, Mayor, that they exited from the program because of the reconstruction in City Hall, or City Park. They made a business decision, and I think probably busing people to Courier Park to watch the concerts may not be the right thing to do either if it's going to be at the city's expense.
I probably didn't clarify that well enough. I don't think I would support that at the expense of the city. What I was hoping is that Green Mountain Transportation Authority, who runs the bus service, might have an evening bus run to help people get up there. But I don't think it would be appropriate for the city to be busing people to a Wednesday concert, because someone could just as easily make the point, well, you know, geez, why don't you bus me to get my groceries? That's a little more important than a Wednesday concert. So no, I don't think I'd support that at the city's expense.
He looks at me. Yes, I have another
Seems to be running the room.
question or a comment that came in from